everyone, and welcome back to the Fearless and Fabulous podcast. I am your host and the creator, Melanie Robinson, and this is the space where we empower women of all ages, all sizes to thrive no matter what. And we're amplifying the stories of women who are making big moves in their lives. And today I have a sister queen, and please forgive my crown disappearing here in my virtual here. She is my sister queen from the Miss Voluptuous pageants. This is Dr. Shauna McLain. Say hi, Shauna.
Hello.
Hi there. I'm so glad you could be with us today. And I'm just going to take this off just so it's not distracting everybody, my disappearing crown. But we got it here on hand. It is International Women's Day as we record. It is International Women's Month. It's a big month for us women. And that's why I wanted to have you on here because I know that you are a big move maker. You've been making so many strides personally and professionally. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners?
Well, I'm Dr. Shauna McLain. I'm a chiropractor in Mansfield, Ohio. I am the current Ms. Voluptuous Buckeye State. I will be at Internationals with Melanie in August in North Carolina. I also, in addition to being a pageant queen, I recently was a model at New York Fashion Week. So I've been doing some modeling as well recently. My platform is to help veterans, advocate for veterans with their basic needs and healthcare, because my personal opinion, we just don't do enough for veterans and they do so much for us.
Right. As a military spouse, I really connect with that. I've seen firsthand how frustrating it can be for our veterans. And I want to ask you, what got you interested in making that your platform? What was your connection to it?
So I see a handful of veterans in my office, and they usually come through the VA, and the VA only gives them like 8 visits for a 6-month period, which is not much at all for me to do much with them. And a lot of them rely on opioid usage to get them through day to day. And last year, as MVP Ohio, my platform was reducing the opioid epidemic through conservative care. So I felt like this was a way to take my last platform and move it into a new platform to help those that uh, basically paid the ultimate sacrifice, in my opinion. I would never be able to be a military person per se. My dad always wanted me to be in the military, but just not my cup of tea. And both my grandfathers were Army veterans, World War I and World War II. And I mean, to me, for somebody to sign the dotted line and be able to go wherever the government tells them without any questions asked, I feel like it's our duty to take care of them properly. They put their life on the line for us, and they should be able to be taken care of, no questions asked.
I applaud that. I think that's fantastic that you are taking that on and you saw a need. You could see how your own patients were not getting the proper care that they needed. So, what are some things that you've been doing to uh, move your platform forward and get more eyes to it?
So I currently have a veteran as a patient, and he is part of the Concerned Veterans of America. And I think, their state representative in that organization. And that organization usually goes to legislatures to help change laws for veterans for their health care. And then I also am hosting a First Bingo fundraiser in 2 weeks, and
Ooh,
all proceeds will go to a local nonprofit that serves veterans. And so my big goal for that is to raise about $30,000 for that local
wow.
nonprofit to help the veterans, because she currently has a Home for the Hero project where one of the veterans that she took care of, one of the first ones that she took care of, he was in a house that was basically condemnable. Tons of black mold. It was falling into itself. And so her organization went in, tore down the house before the city could take it away from him. And the goal is to raise between $50,000 and $70,000 so they can build him a new home.
Wow. And I wish so much that I lived closer because I would be all over that event. Number one, I love purses, maybe a little too much. Number two, I love bingo, maybe a little too much. But number three, I love being able to give back to the military community, which has given me so much as a spouse, and
Right.
especially a man who uh, having mold in his own house and something that isn't livable, but that's what he's got. Being
Right.
able
I don't even
to
think
build something
I,
new would be
I don't even
amazing.
think he had I don't even think he had running water.
Oh my
I don't even
God.
think he had running water. Like it was basically like camping in a cardboard box with little he didn't even have a working stove or a microwave. I don't even know if he had running electric at this point in time before they tore down the house. I don't know for sure. Um, like she's told me the story. Obviously, I might be getting pieces wrong, but um, the house was condemnable and they tore it down and they're trying to rebuild him a new house. So they just have to get the funds together. But there's already construction crews and contractors that have already said, yes, we will do this. So,
Fantastic. Well,
yeah.
and I have to thank you, Shauna, for seeing that need and helping that veteran out.
Yeah.
We definitely need more people to step up and help fill in those gaps where the government isn't willing or able to, whatever the situation is. So, but that's the power of what we can do as queens, as leaders in our community, is that we can see those needs and step up and fill what needs to be done. So I want to ask you, uh,
Yeah.
you mentioned New York Fashion Week, which is
Yeah.
another thing which I love a little too much, as my closet is overrun with too many
Mhm.
things. Tell me about how you got connected with New York Fashion Week. What got you going with that? Just fill us in all the details. I know we'd love to hear how you got connected with that.
So, as a pageant queen, we get into these other like networking circles that we wouldn't have if we if we weren't pageant queens. And I just started liking and following other pageant queens in different organizations, in different pageant systems. And I was looking at what they were liking. And I've always wanted to be a plus size model since I was like in middle school. I saw a show, I think it was on MTV, and it was Mia Tyler, which is the one of the daughters of Steven Tyler
Yes.
from Aerosmith. And I was like, she's a plus size model. Well, she can do it, I can do it. And there's a woman that owns a production company, and she's also a plus size model herself. And some of these other pageant queens are plus size models. I'm like, how do I get into these shows? Like, I've always wanted to model for like bridal, pageant, stuff like that, because I just love putting on a gown. And I just saw this woman who had this production company, or she was a plus size model. So I'm like, oh, I'll follow her and see what she posts. And then I found out she had a production company. And then she puts on all these different productions all over the US for fashion weeks. So New York
Wow.
Fashion Week, she's got a fashion week down in Texas coming up next month. She's got Miami Swim Week in June. She'll potentially do New York Fashion Week in September because it's twice a year in New York. And then there's usually one in Nashville in November. So um, I came across her page on Facebook, and then she held a competition. And I got second to another plus size model that I met at a casting call in Philadelphia last year. And she reached out to me. She's like, I still want to offer this to you. I'm like, all right, great. So I was like, it's one of the biggest goals I've ever had to, be a plus size model, let alone walk New York Fashion Week.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, absolutely. And it's one of those big dreams that just scares the crap out of you.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm turning 40 in May, and I decided that this is going to be my year I call it the year of Shauna.
Yeah,
And
girl.
for me to basically do all the things that scare me, because the best things in life are on the other side of fear. And I don't think I'm not going to let fear hold me back anymore. And it's like, if I want to do it, then I'm going to go after it.
That's so awesome. and those of you, I'll be, of course, be connecting your socials. But
Yeah.
those of you who don't follow Shauna, you need to go look at her Instagram because she's got clips of her walking in these shows. And I was watching, I'm going, yeah, that's amazing. Well, I love what you say about, this is the year of Shauna and turning 40. And I can really relate to that because when I was turning 50, I felt that I needed to do something that scared me a bit too, something to push my own edge, my own envelope. And I think that's kind of where my own fearless and fabulous was sort of born out of without my realizing it. So let me ask you, what made you decide to not be having fear? Like, what did you get over to just grab onto? I'm going to go for these castings. I'm going to go for this type of thing. I'm going to go for a pageant. What got you over that fear, do you think?
Well, I mean, I've been working on myself for the last 4 years, like past childhood traumas and stuff like that. But it it's kind of a perfect example would be I'm a chiropractor. A lot of people are afraid of chiropractors. So patients come in scared to death of me and what I'm about to do to them. They are like on edge the whole time. And it's the anticipation of the act. It's the buildup, it's the anticipation of what's this gonna be like? How's this gonna, what's this gonna do? And you're afraid to do something, but why?
Yeah.
Because you one don't know what's gonna happen because you don't have control over it. And since you don't have control over the outcome, that's what you're afraid of because you won't be able to
Yes.
control the outcome. And it may not be the outcome that you desired, but everything happens the way it's supposed to, no matter what.
Hmm.
Our international queen was supposed to be our international queen last year.
Yes.
If you get the
Yes.
international title or I get the international title this year, it's happening the way it's supposed to happen. Everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. No matter what you do, no matter what obstacle you put in front of you or take out of the way, everything will end up the way it's supposed to end up.
And
So with my
yeah.
patient, so with my patients who are scared to death of me to adjust them for the first time, I walk them through it. And then when they're on the other side of it, once I'm done adjusting them, I'm like, all right, that's it. They're like, that's it. I'm like, that's it. They're like, what was I so afraid of? I'm like, exactly. You see what I mean? Because like a lot of people watch videos to prep themselves, which they're watching the wrong type of videos. And it's like, oh, she's gonna pop my head off. No, I'm not. If I did that, I wouldn't have a job or a career. So it's basically the buildup of anticipation. I'm like, you and I've been there. I mean, at internationals, half the time I wanted to go puke because of all the buildup. It's like, oh my gosh. But now it's just like the answer is always no unless you ask.
Yes.
Start asking. You want something bad enough? Go ask for it. Go after it. What's the worst thing that could happen? You don't get it. Okay. But did you
Okay.
die?
No.
No. Okay. Life still goes on. The sun will rise again tomorrow. And I tell people all the time, although it's a cloudy day like it is here in Ohio right now, the sun always shines above the clouds. Get above the clouds.
Get above the clouds. Oh my God. I love that. And it's something that I've taught. I teach speech communications, and that is one of the number one fears of people is speaking in public.
Yeah.
And so many times they say, well, what if I forget what to say? What if my hands are shaking? What if, I stumble or if I say too many ums? I said, it's the what if that you're scared of.
Yeah.
It's those things you've got built up in your own head. And I will admit that sometimes I will let the story start building up in my head where I have to remind myself, none of this has happened. I'm writing a story that doesn't exist. It doesn't matter if it's going to work or not. If I don't do it, it's never going to happen anyway. So I love hearing your correlation with your work as a chiropractor, is that how you're taking people's fears and
Mhm.
you're showing them that so much what they were fearing was all built up in their head. And now you've
Right.
helped to heal them, not only mentally, but
Right.
physically.
Right. Well, and I'm also I'm looking into doing a TED talk too.
Oh, girl.
Because I'm actually I'm hosting a workshop. So there's a convention coming up at the end of the month in Cleveland called Curvy Girl Con.
Mm.
And a while back, I auditioned to model in the fashion show and I got in. So I'm walking in the fashion show, I'm modeling in the fashion show. And then I spoke at one of their lady luncheons, the Women of Impact luncheon, last month. And then I'm also hosting a workshop at the convention as well for like 30 minutes, basically transforming sickness to wellness. So health is an inside job, basically showing people easy, affordable ways how they can take their life back from pharmaceutical giants,
Mm.
so they can be healthier on their own terms. So I want to do better with public speaking. So I was like, what better way to do it than, do the scary things and do a TED talk. So I might apply to do a TED talk. I have a friend who's a chiropractor in Michigan. She did a TED talk. She said it was an amazing experience. So it's on the list. It's on the list to do.
That's awesome. That is so awesome, girl. I just goes to show you or show anybody who's watching or listening that you can't let the thing you want to do be bigger than what you are. If you think about people who have done the TED Talks, who have walked in the fashion shows, who have started their own business, they were in the same place that you were at one time. It was just a dream, it was just an idea, but it's the motion of taking action that makes the difference. And
Right.
I think that's fantastic that you're just making this list of,
Yeah.
okay, this is what I want to do next. It scares the hell out of me, but that's okay.
Right.
And I think we can all relate to that. I know that I definitely can. I've been thinking about doing a podcast for well over a year, and it was never the right time, or I'm too busy, or I don't really know how to do it, but I just decided to start it anyway. And I
Well, and
think it's
I've always wanted to
important
do a
to, just go, just start it.
right. Well, and I've always wanted to do a podcast, but I'm like, what do I talk about? Who wants to listen to me talk? You know what I mean? And so I always tell people, I'm like, if you think you can't, you won't.
Mm-hmm.
If you think you can't, you won't. Because you've already made up your mind. And if you think you can't, you won't do it.
That's
You're
right.
your own worst critic. You are your own worst critic.
And that's something I have to remind my students as well, that we are always nitpicking on the most minute things, and we make them so much built up larger in our heads.
Yeah.
I think that's true, especially for us as women,
Hmm.
that we hyper focus on things. Is that something that you have found that you've done sometimes in your life, that you hyper focus on something?
My husband will tell you that I do all the time. Um, Apparently I'm stuck on my phone a lot and I can stand in my kitchen for 10 minutes and he'll be saying something and he'll be like, you didn't hear what I said. I was like, what?
Guilty.
Have something to do. If I don't have anything to do, I can't just sit around and do nothing. Because I feel like I'm not contributing to society. It's really hard for me to just sit and rest.
Mm.
So, but yeah, I get hyper focused, super focused on certain things, and I have my blinders on. It's tunnel vision, and yeah, I think a lot of women do that actually.
So what do you do to try and get out of that tunnel vision? What's something that you do to give yourself that space?
You have to change your environment.
Mm.
I'm when I'm at the office, I'm doing stuff with the office. Then, I go to the bingo hall because I volunteer for the nonprofit that I serve on the board of directors as the president. So I that's in a different headspace being there. So I completely forget about work when I'm there. When I come home, then wife duties, dog mom duties, stuff like that. And then, then I get notifications on my phone. Oh, it's time to do pageant prep. Oh, here's the modeling stuff. Let's do this. I don't really have a set schedule or routine for all that stuff, but I mean, notifications on the phone are great to like, okay, what's my schedule today? Where am I going today? Where am I traveling to this weekend or, in the next couple weeks? Um, but yeah, I think you just have to change your environment because
Mhm.
there's times where my husband's like, where you want to go eat? I'm like, all right, let's go here. Or let's go plan a date night just so I can get out of my head, or, you know, let's just leave town for a day and go do something. So you
I'm
just
the
gotta change
same
your
way.
environment.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I can tell when I've been like on my laptop or my phone for too long because my brain just starts feeling cluttered. And
Hmm.
when I'm cluttered, I can't think. I can't be clear. And so I go outside or go for a drive or whatever it is. Just something where I'm resetting myself and giving myself some space. So on
Well,
the
and like
flips,
self,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, girl.
oh, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. And self care is super important.
Yes.
So like, do the monthly facial, do the monthly massage, or how often you want to do it. Just take that hour once a month, twice a month, just to take care of yourself. My patients ask me all the time, how often should I get adjusted? I'm like, that's up to you.
Hmm.
Me personally, I get adjusted 3 times a week just because my job's so physical. Other people, they're once a week. Some people are twice a month. Some people are once a month. Some people are once a year. It just depends.
Yeah.
But don't forget to take care of you, because as women, we always put everybody else in front of us.
Yes.
It's time to put ourselves in front of everybody else, because you are the number one. And if you're not around to help take care of everybody else, who will?
Absolutely. You can't pour from an empty cup.
No, you can't. You can't.
So let me ask you this on the flip side. We talked
Yeah.
about what it takes to be fearless. What do you do personally to feel fabulous?
Well, I get a facial every month.
Nice, nice.
I don't know. Since becoming a pageant queen, I'm like obsessed with shopping for dresses, whether they're appearance dresses or just looking at dresses in general. Um, I haven't had a massage in a while, which I need to do. But
Mm,
I would say mainly I do a monthly facial. That's like my go-to for me. Um, but yeah, go get your hair done. I get my hair done every now and then. But my biggest thing lately, what I've committed to, is once a month facial. And I've probably been doing that for a year because I was prepping for last year. We were doing
yeah,
international. So I've been doing that for a full year now, like one or two a month, depending on her schedule and my schedule.
yeah.
Um, but yeah,
That's
that's what I
great.
would say.
That's great. I think that's something where, every woman can commit to doing one special thing for herself. It
Yeah,
could be even reading a favorite book. It could be going for a walk by herself. It's whatever that fills her up, what, rejuvenates herself. For me personally, I cannot paint my toenails worth a damn. I suck at it. So that's why I go get a pedicure, a proper pedicure. I can do my regular fingernails decently, but for some reason, the toes no go. So that's what I do for myself. And it's great because I can just sit back. I can have get the chair massage at the same time. And she can do all the stuffs that, I have no talent with.
right. Well, my husband will even look at my feet. He's like, "You haven't had a pedi in a while." I'm like, "You're right, I haven't."
He calls you out.
All the time. He's like, "Honey, go take care of it." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Go get a pedi." He's like, "You do a ton of stuff for other people. Go do it for yourself." I'm like, "All right, fine, whatever."
Well, good on him though.
So, but
That's a
yeah,
good husband.
yeah, no, he's really supportive. He's really good to me.
I'm blessed with that as well. Clark is going to take me to the bookstore tomorrow because I haven't been in a hot minute and there's a book I want to find. And so with it being International Women's Month, we can stand on our own 2 feet, but it's so good when we have a supportive partner.
Oh,
We
absolutely.
it's hard to do your business or pageantry or whatever that you are doing without a good supportive network.
Right.
It's
Well, and
possible, but it's
right,
hard.
right. Well, and we both had our husbands at internationals, and I mean, for the first 3 days, my husband basically sat in the hotel room and played video games. But when I would come back to the room to change, he'd be like, "How's it going? What's going on? What do you got to change into?" Like just to ground me again, so I wasn't all in my head the whole time.
Yeah.
But I was glad that your husband was able to come one of the last couple nights so we could meet him and stuff like that because I know he's busy with the military, uh, but yeah, it's nice to have them. I'm very independent, but I still need him there to help ground me because
Right.
I'm the best way to explain it. I'm like that little kid with 100 balloons, and I'm just floating off into into the sky, and then he just grabs a hold of my foot and just like, all right, let's come back down to earth, Shauna. Um, he keeps me very grounded. I'm older than my husband by 5 years, and a lot of people think he's older than me, but he's a very old soul, and I'm not. So, but yeah, he keeps me grounded. It's great.
So let's make a point this time this year, girl, that our husbands get to meet each other because I think they would get
Yeah,
along very well.
yeah, yeah. He'll be there. He'll be my driver. um, yeah, he's going again because the nice thing since internationals is in North Carolina this year, it's only a 7 hour drive versus a 22 hour drive for us.
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, that will be nice since it's closer. So, but yeah, absolutely. We when we were there, we took Shaz and her like mother-in-law Claire around because they were there from Scotland. So it was great to meet them and make some connections with some people. So Chase always went down to have breakfast with me first thing, so he could like kind of can feel familiarize himself with some of the other contestants' family members during competition. So, but yeah, Clark and Chase will have to meet definitely.
Oh, absolutely. I, I feel such a kinship with what you're saying, Shauna, because I'm older than my husband, but he
Mm.
will say over and over again that he gets exhausted chasing after me because I am like the kid with 100 balloons, like you said, and he's the one like, okay, okay, come back, please. You're
It's like we have all these ideas, like I want to do this, I want to do this. Like,
yeah.
whoa, 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 calm down, calm down. And the funny thing is, like, he loves that I'm older than him because his friends will be like, "How old's Shauna?" And he's like, "I went cougar hunting." I'm like, "No, you didn't." So yeah, but yeah, totally the
Well,
little kid with the balloon.
yeah. Well, thankfully, we are part of a really supportive pageant community. What do you think? What is Miss Voluptuous Pageants given for you besides having the title of Miss Buckeye State? What is it that it's done for you as a person?
Well, it's funny you asked me that because I was interviewed for a TV show last month, right before I got on the plane to go to New York City for Fashion Week, and she asked me this question. She didn't tell me she was going to ask me this question. I got really emotional, but to me, it's a sisterhood. It's a family. And if I wouldn't have done MVP, I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met a lot of the other sister queens that we had with us in Colorado last year. Um, I've talked to Chantel multiple times through Messenger. She's like, I can't wait to see you. I'm like, dude, I want to hug you so bad right now. um, but it's camaraderie. Like even with some of the other queens who went to other pageant organizations this year to compete, it's still, hey, sister, I see you. I hope you do really well. I'm rooting for you on this side of the pond. Good luck at
Yeah,
Galaxy, stuff like that. Um, and it's just nice too that you may have noticed this, maybe not yet, but maybe by the time we get to internationals, I've already had a huge growth from last year to this year. Um, I seem to be a little bit rigid to some people, but I feel like I've softened up quite a bit this year. I said this year my word would be flourish, 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 because I feel like I'm just growing into the person I was meant to become. It only took me 40 years to do so, but uh, I'm finally saying yes to me and not yes to everybody else. And
mm,
I'm doing what I want to do, not doing something to please other people because I feel like I'm obligated to do so. But I feel like I have a huge support with Miss Voluptuous pageants, absolutely. And it's a sisterhood
yeah,
because I feel like Natalie does such a great job. Natalie and the team do such a great job of getting us all together acquainted online before we even get to our pageant. Because
right.
when we get to the pageant, it feels like it's just one big family reunion. And I
And I
feel
love
like
that.
that's
I
how it
love that
will always
too.
be. Yeah, I feel like it will always be that because no matter what happens at internationals, I will always see you as one of my sisters.
Yeah, right back at you.
Beyond this year, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
say we cross paths in 10 years and it'll be like,
I'm like,
oh my gosh,
hi.
yeah. Hold on, let me pull my crown out of my purse. No. Just stuff like that. So it's a big family to me. And I feel like um as we can continue to compete and stuff like that, we meet new sisters and we make new connections and um it's just a lot of growth and more connections, more network, growing your network because you never know who you're going to meet.
Hmm.
So
And I have seen a lot of growth with you. I can see that you're not, I feel you, I see you being powerful and vulnerable at the same time. That's what I've been seeing with you. And I think it's gorgeous. I think it's beautiful because becoming vulnerable, that's really difficult. It's a tough thing to be. But once we allow ourselves to open up and show who we are, that just draws people to us because they see that.
well, and I'm told I'm very intimidating, and a lot of people say, "Well, it's your confidence." I'm like, okay, but even so, I was told it was funny because I was asked to be more vulnerable. And I was like, ugh, gross. I hate, ew. I'm like, vulnerability to me shows weakness. No,
That's what a lot of
absolutely
people
not.
think it is.
Yeah. So, but it makes, when you're vulnerable, it makes you more relatable to other people. So I'm on social media more often now, putting out reels, putting out posts, stuff like that. And, if I cry during something, I cry. People see it. It is what it is.
Hmm.
I'm human.
Yes,
So you can still be a strong woman and still have emotions and be vulnerable in front of other people.
absolutely. I would argue it's even showing more strength when you do that.
Yeah.
And with that, I think we are out of time,
Okay.
unfortunately. God, I could talk to you for a whole hour, but Shauna,
Yeah.
before we go, please tell us where we can find you and the I will link as well, but tell us where they can follow you in your journey.
So my Instagram handle is Dr. Shauna MC. Shauna is so it's DrShauna MC. That's my Instagram handle. You're best to follow me there because then I post straight to Facebook from there. I'm Shauna McLain on Facebook as well. I'm not on TikTok. I don't really post on TikTok, but Instagram's the main place to find me, where you'll find all of the modeling, pageant, chiropractic stuff. I call